I'm going to tell you, this next speaker that I'm going to introduce to you is no stranger by no means. I consider one of my best friends, and I'm going to tell you what, when you give this individual an assignment, you never have to look back. You know it's going to get done well, and it's going to get done at 100% effort, and that it's going to come out good. It's proud for me to stand up here and introduce to you your Executive Vice President, Steve VanSlooten. Give him a big hand.
Well, thanks, Mike. I really appreciate that, and I consider you one of my best friends, too. Well, let me make sure it's still morning. Good morning, brothers and sisters and guests. Good morning. Before I start saying anything else, I want to thank all of you. You step forward to be leaders in your local. You step forward to take on the challenges of every day in the trenches, fighting the fight, taking on the concerns of our membership, and taking on the battle with the employers, because there's always battles. So I think at this time, I would like to give you an applause. Thank you very much. You know, one time I had an individual early on, I'm starting to date myself now, back in the 80s, when I was an officer of the local union, came up to me and said, "Don't you get sick and tired of having people, the members, come up and complain about everything?" I said, "Well, no, not really." I said, "Do you know why we keep what we have and continue to improve on what we get in contract negotiations?" And he kind of just looked at me, and I said, "It's because we bitch. Because we complain about not having enough. And as soon as we quit complaining about not having enough and wanting to make a better life for our fellow members and our families, we're going to lose. So let's keep complaining. Let's look for those complaints. Let's address them and make our members feel proud, even prouder to be a utility worker union, part of the Utility Workers Union of America." Yesterday, when we started the convention, we all saw the list of the names scrolling on the monitors of all those members and officers that have passed away since the last convention. You know, everything that we have within this union, we owe to them and all the members and officers that came before them. If it wasn't for them bringing forward the fight each day that they brought since this national union was chartered by the AFL-CIO in 1945, we would not have the contracts that we have today. We would not be sitting in this hall where we're at today and looking on how we can move forward this union. I'm a firm believer we can never forget where we come from. We can never forget who brought us here. And we can never forget the mission that's coming before us. Because we have to meet that mission, and we have to meet those challenges head on. And I know with this union, with the leadership of this executive board, and the delegates and officers within the local unions, we're well prepared to meet the challenges that are ahead of us today. Since the last convention, President Langford has appointed me to be a trustee on the 3 trusts that the UWUA has: the Deferred Comp Trust, the Health and Welfare Fund Trust, and also the P4A Training Trust. I'm just going to say a few words about each of those trusts and then move on to a couple of other topics, because we have a lot of stuff to cover yet. The Deferred Comp Fund is a 401k fund. Once I was appointed to serve as a trustee, the other trustees appointed me or elected me, whatever you want to call it, to serve as the chair of the committee. We have 370 of our members that are in that trust. When I went on the training trust, or not the training trust, but the Deferred Comp Trust Fund, it was a trustee-directed fund where our members had no say in how their money, and it is their money, is directed. It was invested by a policy statement the trustees had put together a while back, and it was handled by the trustees. Even before I was a trustee on the fund, I'd hear different concerns about members that wanted to be able to have their own direction on how their 401k money was invested. After I was a trustee on the trust, talking with President Langford, you know, it is their money. Why shouldn't they have the right to direct it the way they want it? So a year ago, the trustees changed that policy. And today it is a employee member-driven investment policy. We have 26 different investment options for them to go into. 11 of those are age-based options. If a member chooses not to choose where they want their money directed, it goes into a time choice option. It's an automatic default. So based on their age, it'll go into that option, and then that investment will be. They can change it any time. Our members can go online. They can change it daily. They can reinvest however they want. This has, from my understanding, the members, the 370 members that are in that trust, greatly appreciate that and are really happy. Actually, the trust shows how good the trustees were, the investments are improving a lot better than what the trustees were directing, because we had a very conservative investment policy, and that's what we had to follow. On the Health and Welfare Fund, in that Health and Welfare Fund, there are HRAs, there are Vivas, and there's a fully insured group. In the HRAs, we have 4,003 members of this union that have Vivas. Within those Vivas, some of the statements in those that guide it are, if you let an account, if your account runs with no activity for 3 years, which means no deposits, no withdrawals to pay for medical expenses, whatever that account had in it for that person would be forfeited. Now, we go back a few years, it was interpreted that that was no matter what. We've had a number of forfeitures where we have active employees that just are not participating in the HRA because they went to a different health care plan that didn't put them in the HRA anymore. And some of these members, their accounts were being forfeited. It got brought to me as the chair of the committee. We met as trustees, and the interpretation of that now is that if you have no activity in your account and you're retired, that's one thing. But if you are an active employee of the union, you're an active employee at that employer where the HRA is, those funds do not go delinquent. And all of the delinquencies of our active employees out there that have seen their fund balance go to zero, our third-party administrator today is going through those accounts, and we are reactivating those accounts, and they will not be forfeited. Our members deserve that. They earned it. You bargained it. It's their money, and they're going to keep it. So that is... I feel really good about that. We've had a number of issues with that recently, but we put that to rest. We have Vivas within the Health and Welfare Fund, and now I'm looking for my notes. We have 2,831 members within the Viva programs. We have a fully insured group of 370 members within that. The fully insured group gets their health care all provided from the Health and Welfare Fund. Within the Health and Welfare Fund, that fund sits today at over $55 million within that fund. It started, I think it was in 2003. And today, $54 million is a very solvent plan. These are things that you can negotiate within your locals. You have a small group come in, you organize a group that needs health care, we can make it happen. So don't forget that. The UWA Health and Welfare Fund, we have ways. If you have to do different things within your collective bargaining agreement so that you can get your negotiations going on health care to be able to defer costs, HRAs and Vivas are a great way to do it. Now, John Harmon said that it was hard to come up with things to say because Rick Passarelli took most of his talking points away from him. Well, I had a number of things I wanted to talk about the P4A and the training that's going on, and I followed both of them. So that really cuts my talking time down, which is a good thing. There's a lot of things to accomplish. A few things I did want to talk about with the training trust is that, I don't think it was said earlier, but over 200 veterans have been hired at People's Gas through the UMAP program that Rick Passarelli oversees. And if we can put 200 veterans to work in one employer, all the employers we have across this country, how many other veterans can we put to work and give them what they deserve? There's no better way to say thank you to these veterans coming back than a living wage, family-sustaining job. No better way. No better way. For them to put everything on the line and put their lives on hold and put their lives in jeopardy, for us to be back here, to bring them back and know that there's tens of thousands of them living homeless under bridges, in alleys. It's a disgrace. And the best thing we can do as utility workers to make sure that those veterans feel appreciated for everything they've done is to get them in to a utility job where they have longevity, they have benefits, and they have a job that they can support their families and put their children through school and feel that they have a security to be able to live out the American dream that they fought for. And a lot of them died for. The UMAP program, not the UMAP program, but the P4A program in Potterville, Michigan, the 10,000 square foot warehouse that Jonathan talked about that was converted into a training center. P4A, with employer money going into P4A to pay for the training, spent over $800,000 to convert that. The addition that's going in is over $600,000. This is the kind of money that we can generate through the P4A to be able to train our members to do the work that needs to be done to provide gas, water, and electric to the public that we serve. I encourage everybody, whether it's during negotiations or it's midterm contract, we can move this and we can do this anywhere across this country. Anywhere. There is no place that we cannot do this at, whether it be UMAP or just a training facility where we're training incumbent workers or new workers. We can do it. When I met with the CEO of Consumers Energy a number of times to try to get this kicked off, one day that he said to me when I met with him, he goes, "Do you really think you can do this?" I said, "I don't think we can. I know we can." Then I walked out of the meeting and said, "Holy shit." When he said, "Yeah, okay, we're going to do it." But partnering with the Michigan State Utility Workers Council, we got it done, just like they got it done in Chicago. We're putting out a great product in training. Our members are very appreciative of it, and it works. So we got to keep that going. I want to touch on one other thing, and it was not because it's my hometown, but 2 years ago, the municipal in Holland, there's electric and water and wastewater. The members there belong to TPOAM, which is an association. They contacted me and asked if I would come and talk to them about joining the Utility Workers Union of America. I met with them, quickly found out that we couldn't do anything at that time because they had a contract that didn't expire until April 1 of this year. So last fall, they contacted me again. I met with them, explained to them how we could go about getting them moved over if in fact their membership wanted to move into the Utility Workers Union of America. There was a window between November 1st and January 1st where they had to submit a petition to be able to have a vote on whether, and the vote would be stay with TPOAM, go with the Utility Workers Union of America, or no union at all. After meeting with the local several times and had Jim Jeanette come in, who would be servicing the local as a senior staff, we petitioned, they voted last February, 55-1 to go with the Utility Workers Union of America. And that was, since then, Jim Jeanette has been able to successfully negotiate a new 3-year contract with more improvements in this contract than they've seen in the last 12 years with TPOAM. TPOAM, I mean, there's a lot of this out there, and I'm not trying to bash anybody, but one of the concerns that they had was how much is your dues? And I said, well, how much are you paying now? And they said, well, TPOAM gets $33 a month for each member. And in turn, they sent $1 for each member back to the local union. I said, well, man, we got this made. I said, you're going to get $12.50 back from us. And I could see people in the audience saying, wow, I think we should do this. And it was just on that. But that being said, what I've really heard back from the leadership of that local is they have had more representation from Jim Jeanette in the 3 months that he serviced them than they had in 12 years from TPOAM. And that's a credit to the staff that's out there, that's ready to serve and help every one of you in any fight that you have. And I'm going to end with this. We've had a lot of fights in contract negotiations over the last few years. We have some employers that we work well with. We have some employers that want to lock our members out, want to strip our members of their dignity, of their benefits, and everything that's been bargained for from those people that scrolled on that screen earlier. And when we have employers like that, that's when us as utility workers, we get off our ass, we get on our feet, we get out the door, and we hit the street. Thank you very much.